So one thing that we need to do to the lights is we need to actually make something for them to plug into. So we have this JST that we had on our power distribution board for that, but we need a female one to connect into that male one. So there's not going to be a lot of room to fit that in, but I do want to keep it still concise. So we're actually going to have it come off onto this right side here. So we're going to have the red wire be shorter than the black one. So to give you the lengths that I'm going to cut those at, the red one I'm going to cut right up to where it comes, if I line it up with the lights here, right up to where those switches are. So I'm going to go ahead and snip that. Snip the red one. Let's take a look there. Yep, so just right up to the switches. And then the black one, I'm going to cut up to the BRG little tabs. So right up before where you'd actually get soldered onto. So let me go ahead and snip that. Okay. So just to lay that out for you. So right up to there. And that's our lengths. So now let's go ahead and strip these down. I think the 3 lights are the only parts left that we haven't soldered yet. That was not a good stripping. Now this black one. There we go. Okay. And let's go ahead and pre-tin. Wipe off the excess solder. And pre-tin these little pads here. So the positive is the one on the right, and now I'm gonna pre-tin the negative. Since the red is shorter, let's go ahead and do that first. So we're gonna stick it up through the bottom. And then we're going to have just this little end soldered on. And this is not going to want to stay there. So I'm going to use a knife to hold it in place. And just let that solder in. Okay. So that one's there connected. And now let's go ahead and do this black one. So stick the black one up. And same thing. Kind of bend it in there. Yep, we'll just solder left-handed again. Oh no, there we go. Okay, we'll do it right-handed. Just getting the pad there and flowing together. And let's clean off the soldering iron. Okay. And there we go. We can go ahead and pop a little bit of hot glue right on top of there. To seal off that connection. I think the only soldering that we have left to do is our two lights that are going to go on the bottom plate. So let's go ahead and flip over the quad. I guess that video transmitter is going to fall out. Our camera is going to stick up a little bit. Okay, and we have our wires here for these lights we're going to mount on. And let's go ahead and first I'm going to take some of this welder glue. And just apply a thin strip down the center of each of these. Last time I put on just a little bit too much for the top plate. And we're going to go ahead and get somewhat close, but enough room to work for putting on this standoff. So giving like a ½ centimeter of space. And now let's go ahead and glue. Put a thin strip of glue on this one. And we want it roughly to be the same distance. So just to compare with this connector, just a little bit shorter than that connector length. And so those are slipping around just a little bit. So let's go ahead and put on a zip tie to hold those in place. And so we're just going to go around around the ESC as well to hold that in place. So should have probably unplugged the video transmitter. So we're going to go around right about there, just right next to the switches. And so let's go under. And this is in case the glue fails and so the ESC isn't flopping around as much. But because these edges are kind of sharp, we're not gonna pull this too tight. Just enough to kind of keep things in place. Okay, let's go ahead and put on this other zip tie. So all the way down under the ESC, or I guess on top of the ESC, since the ESC is upside down. And there we go. And you can see it's really not that tight on there. Okay. Now we need to make sure we get to the negative on this side and the positive on this side. And then on this one, the positive on that and the negative on that one. So since this one should be a little bit easier, let's go ahead and do that one. So we can go ahead and pull the wire tight, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it off, pulling it tight right after the red pad there. So I guess yeah, right about there. And let's go ahead and separate, split them a little bit, because they're going to need to go to their respective pads. Okay, it could be a little bit tricky to strip these wires on here because we don't want to put too much pressure on our camera. Ah, shoot. Now luckily these are just the lights, so we don't need to worry about having the best connection. So let's go ahead and pre-tin. I want to get a lot of solder on that one that I cut even shorter than I meant to. Okay, pre-tin the negative. And now let's go ahead and pre-tin these pads. There we go. Okay. And I'm definitely going to solder this red one on first. Since kind of really pushing the limits of the wire. Ideally where I cut it at, I wanted a little bit of slack, but now I don't get any slack. Trying to find a spot that I can hold it in with the knife. That didn't work. Okay, there we go. And it's not shorting, or it's not touching the black, so we'll call that good. Now I'm going to have some extra black wire. not the prettiest, but if the lights turn on and it doesn't short, that's good for us. Okay. There we go. Now let's see if we can do a little bit better job stripping this one. So this is going to come over like this. And so we're going to go ahead and snip it. Pulled over right after the last pad. I'm going to angle it just a little bit. That way the negative's a little bit longer. I think I left a little bit more room for screw up on this one. So let's go ahead and split this. Okay. That should be just enough exposed. Time to do some pre-tinning. Okay. And so we want the negative on this longer. Oh, we got to pre-tin the pads. Put a little bit more solder than I would have wanted on that one. And a lot of solder on that one too. A lot of solder's fine as long as we don't. There we go. As long as we don't let it blob over and touch the other side. I'm going to need to use the knife to hold that down. There we go. So it looks like both those wires are red, but in reality, this is the black one, and that's the positive one. It's just when we pulled it apart, the red came off, and so it made the black wire look red. And to finish this off, we're just going to go ahead and put a little bit of hot glue on those connections, or glob, I guess, just so grass or something protect against a short and help hold on those connections. And there we go. I think we finished the soldering.